What's up, people? I'm back for another video. Today, we are reviewing, instead of doing a whole video on Truth or Dare, I'm going to do a quick thoughts on it before we get into Godzilla vs. Kong, which is going to be the big video today. And then tomorrow, I'll figure out what to do tomorrow. Uh, and I don't know if I'm going to do a video later tonight. We'll see. I'll see how I'm feeling. If not, I'll definitely do one tomorrow. I just got to figure out what I'm going to do. But I figure we definitely got to talk about Godzilla X Kong. I was going to talk about it yesterday, but I was actually going to do it. I was just too tired. I was like about to fall asleep, and I didn't want to do the video because I figured I was going to probably talk about this movie for a while. So I was like, I don't want to be all yawning in the video. I just, so that's why I didn't do it. But I figured I'll do it in the morning so we can get it done. But really quick, before I get into Godzilla X Kong, let's talk about Truth or Dare. Pretty much the premise is these kids go to Mexico, and I guess they play a game of Truth or Dare, but they play it in a place where a demon is awoken and pretty much takes over whoever's body and pretty much asks Truth or Dare, and if you don't do it, you die, kind of deal. The concept was there, but it was a bad CW movie. There's really nothing scary about it. All they do when they ask the Truth or Dare question, they make your face look all weird. It's like, I wonder if Smile got the idea from this movie. Because even the faces they make in Smile is very reminiscent of the faces they make in this movie. And it was a CW, very much a CW cast. You don't really care about any of the characters, really. The deaths aren't that great. It's another unexplored concept by Blumhouse. Yeah. But anyway, let's get into another fucking dog shit movie. Godzilla versus, or X Kong. The name is terrible. It's Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, which the name really doesn't mean anything. Where do I start with my issues with this movie? I have many. I would say definitely this is worse than Ghostbusters. Is it at least one? At least I didn't pay for Ghostbusters. This I did pay for, and I'm a bit more invested in Godzilla than I would probably say than Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbusters. It's just I'm probably, if I had to compare what I'm more invested in, it's definitely probably Godzilla. And I felt like, I'm gonna put spoilers in the title because I know there are some people who I know who haven't seen it yet, and I know one person who's actually going to see it next week. So I figure I don't want to I'll put spoiler alert in the title so I can just let people know, because I'm going off on this movie. So pretty much the premise is Godzilla and Kong have to team up. They go to the Hollow Earth, or it starts in the Hollow Earth, and they go there because Kong discovers that there's actually more of his species left, but they're all underground and are subjected, they're essentially slaves to the Scar King, who the Godzilla species sent them down there years ago, and he wants to go to the surface. And Scar King, they really barely, established this creature. He feels like, I'm gonna say it, he feels more like a Planet of the Apes villain than he does. It's funny because he got King of the Planet of the Apes in a few months, and they actually played a trailer for that in the movie. And I'm just thinking, this is just a bad Planet of the Apes movie. I get it, Kong and their apes, so of course you're gonna have somewhat similar themes, right? They just don't talk. But it was blatant in this. Skull King has his own little fucking turf in the fucking Hollow Earth. They really don't. Him, and then he controls this creature called Shimu with this crystal, and that's all you get. Basically, the idea is he controls him you control Shimu with that crystal. You barely know what that crystal actually can do. I feel like there's no lore building in this movie at all. And I thought, whatever you think of 2014, I hate it. 2014, up until now, was probably the worst MonsterVerse movie for me. This is easily worse. At least 2014, there was some world building. King of the Monsters, world building. Skull Island, world building. Those are like, to me, the two best MonsterVerse movies are those two, and there's no world building in this. Even Godzilla versus Kong is a bit more world building. There just is none. Like, you don't really know none of the Titans. Godzilla is a side character. He doesn't even need to be in this movie. This movie, I saw someone say this in a comment section while I was going through like opinions on the movie. And honestly, I gotta agree with this one. Someone said this should have just been Kong versus Scar King. So this should have just been a Kong movie. And I very much agree. I think I was even saying it before the movie. This is just a King Kong movie with Godzilla in it. And that's what it is. There was no reason for this movie to really be a team up. Humble opinion. There's no reason this film had to be a team up. You could have very much just had this be a Kong movie in the Hollow Earth. Because I'll admit, if I had, I guess, a few positives, I do like the Hollow Earth. I love the cinematography is probably the only positive I really have. I love like the world of the Hollow Earth, and it should have just been Kong. Mini Kong Suko, I guess is the name. They don't say it in the movie, but I found out later. I'll admit, I would have probably cut him out. That just was done clearly because you gotta have Baby Yoda. But at least, I'll say this. At least Mini Kong. I felt like at least he had a use. He wasn't just there to be cute. I'll give the movie this compared to like Baby Yoda. Even Baby Groot and Guardians. They were just there to be cute. At least Mini Kong somewhat did something in the movie. But Shimu, the most you get is it's an ancient. The most you get from Shimu is that it's an ancient titan that can shoot ice. That's it. Even though I remember the lead up to the movie, they were making it seem like Shimu was gonna be like almost like the King Ghidorah, like it was gonna be like this new big threat. It's not. Not really. Because Shimu's not even the villain. Like, if anything, he's more a tool for Scar King to control until the end. Well, I haven't even got into the human characters. And that's another one they lied about. They made it seem like, oh, this movie, there's not going to be as much humans. The humans are backdrop. No. That was bullshit. I would argue there's just as much human shit in this one as there was in Godzilla vs. Kong. You know, I didn't even feel like there was that much. And I didn't necessarily hate the human character. The main chick, Rebecca Hall's character. Oh, man, I don't really remember her name. She was okay. I just don't think she had anything to work with. You had the little girl from the last one. Jin? I'll be honest, I'm bad with these human characters in these movies. I think the only one I remember is Trapper. And oh my god, they were so blatantly trying to make him Peter Quill. It's like every scene he shows up in, he would show up in some like old, I don't know if it was a rock or some old like, you know, some oldies, I'll just say, started playing. And it's like the songs you would listen to. I'm like, this could be in a Guardians movie. It is so, there's like at least 3 or 4 scenes of that. The scene when he's initially introduced, because he's introduced as Kong. This is after Kong arrived to he climbed to the, you know, above the Hollow Earth because he needed to get his tooth fixed because it was hurting. So he came to have the humans fix it. And that's when Trapper does it. And he plays this song. And the song itself's not bad, but it's like, they're so fucking trying hard to make him Peter Quill. Like, this is clearly like a song you could see in a Guardians movie. And then they do it again when, because there's a scene, this is where Kong gets his, I'm going to say it, the Thanos gauntlet. And then a scene later where he uses his ship to lead in some of those I don't know what to call them, like pterosaur looking creatures to attack Scar King and his people. Like, it was so bad. Like, he's not a bad character. The character himself isn't horrible, but it's so obvious they were trying to make a Peter Quill. It wasn't even like they were hiding it. It was so blatant. Even have him be like a little bit smarmy and, a bit of a smartass like Peter Quill, yeah. And then Bernie, I think that's the other one I remember. That's the shitty fucking conspiracy guy. Like, I didn't mind him in the last movie. He is fucking annoying in this one. He is just, they have to constantly remind you, that he's a fucking, like, podcaster, a blogger, constant references. They don't say YouTube, but he's clearly, like, supposed to be a YouTuber. He mentions subscribers. There's a scene he mentions Discord. It's like, God, we get it. He's into fucking the internet, okay? We understand. He's a blogger. He's a streamer. He's, he mentions going live. It's like, we get it. Okay, movie? We fucking get it. It's like, hate when movies do that shit, where they gotta, like, beat it into your head of this is what this character does. Okay, we know. And it's not even like they show you. They tell you. They have him tell you, literally. They were trying to have him be, like, the comic relief, and it was annoying, dude. I found his character grating as fuck in this movie. There's so many times I was just cringing. I was just like, dude, stop it. He's not fun. I don't know why they were going for the, like, I'm gonna say it, last movie, I didn't find him that annoying. If anything, it wasn't that I found him annoying. It was more Millie Bobby Brown's character and her friend who I found more annoying. But at least with him, he wasn't that bad, actually. I thought he was tolerable. In this, he is annoying. At least there's no Millie Bobby Brown in this movie, but it's still not good. The fact that they even have human, they lied and they were trying to make it seem like, oh, we're gonna make it seem like there's not as much human shit. There is, dude. I'd argue there's just as much, like there was in last movie. Like it, they were there just there for fucking dialogue and the decorations, essentially. The main fights didn't even do it for me. I was even going into this movie, the monsters weren't even acting like monsters in the trailers. Like, you have Kong riding Godzilla's back, which is in the movie, by the way. And I know some people can try to say, oh, it was just to set up the battle, but no, it's cringe. Because I guess because Scar King was riding the back of Shimu, so they're like, okay, let's have Mimic. It's like, no, I don't need to see Kong riding Godzilla. That's stupid. And my God, let me, really quick, Godzilla was so done dirty in this movie. At no point does he feel like a threat, even like a threat to the bad guys. He doesn't feel like a monster. He doesn't feel like a force in nature. And I was bitching about this for a while leading into the movie. The lack of scale. Because I was seeing it in the trailers, and then now watching it in the movie, I'm, I guess, vindicated in the sense that there is no scale in this movie, which sucks. Because that's the one thing I really love about Godzilla, or monster movies in general, but definitely Godzilla movies, is that sense of scale. When you got that sense of scale, it really shows you how big Godzilla is, and you don't get that. Even Kong and Skull Island, the first one, he felt huge. Like, when he first saw him, like, oh my God, dude is big. Same with Godzilla in as much as I hate the movie 2014, and definitely King of the Monsters, you had a sense of Godzilla as a fucking force. You don't get that in this movie. Even when he fights monsters, he's running around. Yeah, he's running around. He's fucking climbing shit. There's a scene where he jumps on all... I'm not kidding you. When he was charging at Kong the first time in Cairo, he does almost like get on his all fours and jumps off so he can get in the water. I get it was to jump in the water, but it was dumb. It's like, Godzilla does not move like this. What the fuck are they doing? It's like... The lack of scale is really hurting me, bothering me, because that is what we come to these movies for. And then it's like, 3 months ago, we had Godzilla -1, and that scene in Ginza, you get all the scale. That's like probably the best sense of scale in the whole movie. I think the whole movie is really good, but the best, I would say, scene where you get the sense that Godzilla is a big motherfucker was that scene. Even the scene where you had the people on top of the building, you just see Godzilla, like, hitting the building over, and you just see how big he is. You don't get that in this movie. Like, not just with Godzilla, with any of the creatures. They don't feel big. They're just like, oh. Especially in the Hall of Earth. And my god, Godzilla fucking running was stupid. Why? This movie is just. I was saying this after movie. This isn't just a bad Marvel movie to me. This is very much like a Fast and the Furious, Bayformers. We're in that kind of area now with these movies, which is sad. Because I think Godzilla, and we were shown we could do better with Godzilla, but people want this type of tone. I've heard the defense. Some people say, well, at least Godzilla has different tones we can have. But I don't want this overly goofy tone. I'm sorry, I don't. This is not what I want. I don't want Godzilla to be Fast and the Furious, or fucking Marvel, or fucking Bayformers. That's not what Godzilla is. This doesn't even feel like a monster movie anymore. We're not even in a monster film anymore. The monsters don't feel like monsters. It might as well just be people. They just don't talk. You just might as well give them a dialogue, because we're just people. It was bad. And the final fight isn't even that great. These movies are very much, I'm going to say it again, they're very much just Fast and the Furious now. Like, that's what it seems like. That's where they want to go with these movies. And just have it be like, it's almost like a kid just playing with their toys. But I even say a kid playing with their toys is probably still way more creative when it comes on something far more interesting than this shit. This was like it in its worst form, where it's just have these dinosaur monsters do shit, but it's not even that great. Like, the only cool monster fight was in the beginning when Godzilla fought that, like, crab-looking thing. Although that was kind of cool, but then the rest of the fights didn't do it for me. Not really. It was just like, oh. Well, when you take away the sense of scale, even like Godzilla 2000 or any of those older Godzilla movies, still understood. See, I'm going to say it. Godzilla does a fucking suplex on Kong. I'm not kidding you. In the Cairo fight, there is a scene where Godzilla basically suplexes Kong. I'm like, okay, what are we fucking doing? This is what I mean. Is this a fucking parody? And I get some people will defend, well, but the Showa era was a bit like, but that was in a time where you can kind of get away with that kind of style. I don't think you can get away with that kind of shit today. I don't want to see, when we see Godzilla doing crazy shit in -1, the scariest version of Godzilla. And what do we follow up with? Let's have Godzilla do a fucking suplex. It just shows me, like, you know what? Let Toho do Godzilla. Legendary just isn't, they don't care anymore. They just want to make these dumb fun, not even dumb fun though, not in a real way. Because this is just dumb, but not in a good way. Not even a fun way. It's just retarded almost. It's like, not Blue Mouth. It seems like Legendary just wants to just, what I think they're going to do is I think we're just going to get another one of these movies. Like, if they, instead of a solo Godzilla movie or a solo Kong movie, I think they're just going to do another team-up movie where they fight up some other monster threat. They'll make some shit up. And as long as, with some people, I think people are just going to be blinded, but, oh, there's going to be some dumb fights, so I can like it. That's why I think there are some people who like it more. So I do feel like I'm the outlier opinion. Because I don't think we should be better. I think the Godzilla franchise deserves better than this dumb shit where it's borderline, it's Bayformers now. It's not even Godzilla anymore. Or fucking a bad Marvel, bad superhero movie. Like, Monarch are basically fucking S.H.I.E.L.D. They're no different than S.H.I.E.L.D. Godzilla and Kong are Iron Man and fucking Cap. They're like they're your faces. They might as well be members of Monarch. It's so fucking bad. It's like they're not even monsters anymore. And it's really sad that this is where the IP is going. On the American side, I don't think the whole IP is like this. Because I know Toho is going to be cooking deadly after -1. But it's just like sad that America just... I was saying this too after the movie, before I was thinking it. That Godzilla is basically the current day Jurassic Park T-Rex in current canon, where he's not even scary anymore. He's just basically a superhero now, and that's where we're at. He's not even scary. The legendary Godzilla at least had moments of being scary. You don't even have that in this one. He's not scary at all. Like, yeah, it's bad, bro. They've done my boy dirty, and it really sucks that Legendary. We went from like King of the Monsters, which for a long time was my favorite modern Godzilla movie. Had even with some of the issues, and Kong Skull Island. Those were like the two best. Even Godzilla versus Kong had moments, but those two mainly. And it just seems like we have fallen off from there, and now we're just doing these just I don't know what to call them, kids just playing with their playing with their toy movies, or the Fast and Furious era of Godzilla legend. That's what it seems like. That's what they want to do. They're just gonna do something else like in this tone. I don't think we're ever gonna go back to a serious tone. You think we would, but no. Anyways, guys, after that long ass me just shitting on it, let me get into the actual movie now. But yeah, it's frustrating. Like that, this movie could have been better. It should have never been a Godzilla Kong movie. It should have just you could have honestly had Godzilla have his own plot, and that could have been a Godzilla like sequel, and then Kong versus Star King could have been in a Kong movie. That's what this should have been. This should have been a Kong movie, because Kong, I feel like it's way more of the plot. Godzilla's just kind of there. So, anyways, guys, let's get into it. The movie opens up. The Hollow Earth. We see Kong fight off. I was already weirded out. Like, why they have Kong introduced in this weird way? He's being chased by these, I don't know, hyena dog-looking creatures, and he ends up hearing noises, and the idea is that Kong's feeling lonely because he's the last of his species until he finds out later. That's when they introduced Rebecca Hall's character, and basically Godzilla's pretty much a superhero that Monarch just tracks, and like I said, they're literally just S.H.I.E.L.D. now. They don't even. So we see Godzilla attacking different titans. So like the first scene, we see him fight some. I think Wikipedia said it was called Skilla, but it was basically this crustacean crab-looking thing that Godzilla pretty much beats pretty easily. And I'll say, at least Godzilla definitely looks better in blue. I hate that they changed it because the pink looks terrible. Like, it looks bad, and it's even worse when you see it on the big screen. Like, I think it looks even worse. You saw like how scary Godzilla looked in -1, and then even in like the Legendary. I've always kind of dug the Legendary design. Like before this one, I dug the Legendary design of Godzilla. I was like, okay, that's a good like modernized kind of Godzilla design. Like it maintains that original design, but it also has like this little bit of like badassery to it. But then it's like, no, we're gonna make him pink. So, there starts to be some weird signals being sent, which we find out is from the Iwi people. But the little girl from the last movie hears it, has dreams about what happens, and the outpost that I'm gonna go all around. This movie really does not have a plot. There's no flow to it. Things just kind of happen, And that's what I mean. Even Fast and Furious had more. Fast X had more of a plot than this. I'll say that. This doesn't even. There really is no plot. There's nothing like really stringing this movie together, really, besides. Like I said, the Kong Scar King thing, you could have made its own movie, but that's what I mean. You could have streamlined. You didn't need Godzilla in this. He's just there. And then, that's the other thing I didn't even mention. They make a gag with Godzilla, because there's like, they do this twice. In the initial fight, and then after the ending fight, where he wins, and fucking he sleeps in the Coliseum, which one? The Coliseum's bit Godzilla wouldn't fit in it. They have fucked up Godzilla's size in these movies. Because in the Legendary movies, those first two, Godzilla's massive. I wouldn't believe that Godzilla would even be able to sleep in the Coliseum. He'd destroy it 'cause he's too big. He's too fucking big. But because Godzilla, I feel like it kind of started in Godzilla versus Kong in a bit because we had to make Kong bigger and Godzilla a bit smaller. So what's what I think happened? So they made Godzilla a bit smaller that he's big enough he can now sleep in the Coliseum, and it's not funny. It's a weird gag. I mean, okay, and the fact they do it twice because they do it after the ending fight too. It's just like why is Godzilla sleeping in the Coliseum? He would go in the water for one. That's dumb. I don't. Is it a joke because Godzilla's a warrior? So let's. I'm wondering if that's why they did it because they see Godzilla as like almost like a warrior or a gladiator because he's fighting other monsters. So they're like, let's do a gag where he's sleeping in the Coliseum. I really think that's what it is, and it was an attempt at a bad humor, and it doesn't work because realistically, Godzilla would just go back home. Like even after the end of 2014, that's the one thing I'll give that movie. I really dug the ending when Godzilla makes all the other monsters kneel and he just goes back in the ocean. I always love that shot of Godzilla going back to the ocean at the end of every movie. No, he just sleeps in the Coliseum. Why? He wouldn't sleep on land. Even though, yeah, he views it as his territory. He still wouldn't sleep there. He would sleep in the... It was... Okay, movie. Anyway, I don't know why. I'm just stuck on that, because it's just, like, little things like that. Like, why? And I guess some can say that's a nitpick. It's not that big a deal. It's like, no, Godzilla would not sleep on land. There's a reason after every fucking movie, in majority versions, after, like, either the fight or whatever, he goes back in the ocean. That's his home. Anyway. So Kong discovers, because he's attacked by, other, creatures like basically apes like him. Two of them have like the red markings. This is where we see Suko for the first time. Who he was just there to be cute and I'm assuming Suko essentially becomes Kong's son. Like they don't say it, but it's pretty much implied. Suko initially works for Scar King, even attacks Kong, but after Kong beats those other two, Kong kind of forces him to lead the way. And then eventually, they start bonding. Like, Kong even lets them... Because Kong eats meat in this universe, which I guess... I guess he's a giant ape. I guess if you're going to be that big, you probably can't just eat, like, plants and fruit. Alright. Because he eats, like, some sea monster. Which, all of it, that was kind of cool. The sea monster looked kind of cool, but that fight was, like, for, like, 2 seconds. That was the other problem with some of these. Like, because there's another fight later where Godzilla fights some serpent creature, and this is where he gets the pink. Because Godzilla's gearing up for a battle, which we find out later, because he goes to a nuclear facility. Which, all of it, this is probably the only scene I really love with Godzilla in it. It felt like old Godzilla. He was doing things on his own. He's just destroying shit. He was sucking like the nuclear out of the radiation, out of the. He was basically powering up. And then he kills this creature and then goes in this place which gives him even more of a power, and that's where we get Pinkzilla. But now back in the Hall of Earth, the main lady gets a team, including Bernie, to go to the Hall of Earth, and this is where we do have this scene where Kong gets his tooth replaced with like some by the Trapper, and like my god, there's a couple of, like I mentioned, the amount of time they really want to make it seem like he's the Peter Quill of this universe, and it just doesn't work for me, because it's like, why are you trying to make a character like another character from a different universe? Why not make him his own character? Why does he have to be like they play like the amount of times they play music every time? Like he plays some oldies every time he's on the screen. Not every time, but like when he gets in his like plane, I don't know, call it plane ship thing. So they go to the Hall of Earth. The one dude gets killed who is so telegraphed because he's like, I'm the leader. I don't sense anything. Everyone else is like, no, we don't want to go. And then he's like, so I'm the leader, and he gets killed. It was so predictable. He gets killed by like a tree. Like there's a tree that comes alive. Whatever. And you don't even see this tree again. Everyone just runs. This is where they find the place where they find the iwi people, basically the little girl's people, and then this is where it turns out they're the ones who sent that signal. Before that, I'll go back. They have an outpost in Hollow Earth that was destroyed, which we find out was Scar King, or one of Scar King's people. I think it was Scar King, because in one of the videos, Scar King has like a blue eye. So that's what it looked like when you see in the video. So it was Scar King who destroyed the facility. But, so, they find the people, and the people pretty much warn them about, they're the ones who kind of warn, almost in a way, warn Godzilla too, because they know something's coming. This is where we learn about the Scar King, and Godzilla sent these people, these apes, in the Hollow Earth. And while this happened, this is where Kong finds Scar King and his pretty much all the other apes are enslaved by him. And Scar King, even when I remember first seeing him, I was just like a little underwhelmed, because like, he is not that big. Kong's bigger than him. I'm like, why not make him the same size as Kong? You should have just made it another silverback. Why make it an orangutan? I don't know what they were going for with that design. That felt too Planet of the Apes. Especially when he was the only one. You're telling me he's the only orangutan-looking one? You should have just had it be another fucking silverback. Or maybe you give him give him a scar. You could still have give him a scar or something, where that name could still apply. He wasn't even the same size as Kong. Anytime they fought, it really, in my eyes, Kong should have beat his bitch ass in 2 seconds. Because he has this, like, bone whip thing, which at the end has this crystal. Why didn't Kong just grab the whip every time? And it never made sense to me. Why didn't just grab it every time? Like, they really want to have you believe that Scar King had a chance. It was bad. And then that's when he has this crystal, which we find, that's when we see Shimu nearly kills Kong, but Zuko manages to save him, but Kong's hand is frostbitten. This is where Kong's chased by Scar King's, I was going to say men, but I'll just say Scar King's hench apes, if you want to call them that. But Zuko kills him with traps throughout, which that was kind of cool that Kong had little traps, you know, because he's a gorilla, so gorillas are pretty smart. So especially one being his size, I can believe he's smart enough to, even in the animated series and other Kong, you know, stuff, there are some things he does that's, I guess, human-like, you know? So it doesn't really bother me. And this is where Godzilla pretty much has his power-up, which just isn't a power-up to me. It doesn't look good. He looks better blue. His eyes are all fucking pink, too. It's like, oh my god. Or it says magenta on fucking Wikipedia, but that's pink. That's not magenta, but anyway. So this is where the iwi people come up with a plan, because there's portals to the surface, and that's where Scar King wants to go, which they don't even really explain why. They don't explain really what Shimu is as a creature. The most you get, it's basically a dragon that can shoot ice. That's all I got. That's all, like, they don't really explain. They don't, like, they just say ancient titan. You know, there's, like, nothing. And I love lore, especially in the Godzilla world, so I would like a little bit of a background on the creature. I'm not saying I need, like, everything, but I want a little bit of a background. You don't get that in this movie. Shimu just exists. You know, it just, hold on. Shimu's just there, like, for, just because it's a Godzilla, like, because she even has, like, spikes on her back, like Godzilla. And it can shoot, like, essentially something similar, like, to an atomic. It's so bad, dude. And it turns out the little girl can basically awaken Mothra, which, okay, it was cool seeing Mothra, so that was another positive. But Mothra doesn't really do anything. Like, he doesn't get involved in the fight, besides to have Godzilla help Kong. That's it. And then she closes, like, the door to the portal to the surface. That's it. It was cool seeing Mothra, though, I'll admit. It was, I guess, in that sense, that was cool. But anyway, so yeah, Mothra's awakened. they come up with the EU people come up with a plan what they're gonna do when the creatures because Scar King is told by one of his people, well, not told, but pretty much hinted about the portal. He comes with a little brigade and basically plans to attack and go to the surface. So to keep them from going to the portals, they basically use an anti-gravity that keeps them in the air, essentially. So kind of like in space, almost like a feeling in space. So and this is where Kong he arrives, but his hand's all injured, and this is where he gets the robot hand that's just conveniently, for some reason, is somehow on Hollow Earth. They're not working on it on the surface. It's conveniently there, and it was so bad. It was like a fucking Iron Man suit moment. Like it was him getting but it was Thanos gauntlet. It was so bad. It almost looked Transformers-y too, like a robot hand punching. It was stupid. It was like, what are we doing? This isn't a monster flick anymore. He ends up getting ready for the fight. He goes to Cairo to try to basically go in Godzilla's territory. He tries to, have Godzilla help him. That's what I mean. They're not even monsters. He's almost like trying to not talk, but like they have like a way of communicating. It's weird. This is where Godzilla does the fucking suplex, which Godzilla does kick his ass again, which does show Godzilla mollywops Kong every time, which I guess that's fun, but this Godzilla just isn't as good. Mothra arrives and basically has Godzilla help Kong, and yeah, we get to the final fight. It's not that good. We get the cringy scene of Godzilla fucking running, and I'm like, it's even worse in the movie. Same with the fucking scene where Godzilla Kong climbs Zilla. It's stupid. I'm like, what are we doing? So they pretty much fight. They end up getting sucked into one of the portals, which takes them to Rio de Janeiro. And Scar King is on the surface. He roars at some people. Godzilla fights Shimu while Kong fights Scar King, and the fight just isn't. It's whatever, man. It just isn't. Suko manages to take Kong his axe from the last movie, which for some reason isn't blue anymore, even though the last film was blue. It had it almost was like a almost red glow at times, like at least the side of it. It was like, wait, I didn't notice it while I was watching. I just thought of it now, I'll admit. But yeah, why wasn't it blue? Like it was blue in the last movie. I guess it doesn't have that blue glow anymore. I think there was one moment it did kind of glow blue, but it went away at times. Because that in Godzilla vs. Kong, I think it was blue the whole time when he got it. So yeah, he fights. They end up pretty much Godzilla. There's no reason this is a Godzilla movie or there's Godzillas in this movie because he doesn't even just deliver the final blow. He shoots his atomic breath a few times, but he doesn't really do anything. Kong's the one who breaks, he smashes Scar King. So Scar King ends up losing his the crystal that controls Shimu, and Suko manages to smash it with the axe, and then Scar King tries to attack Suko. Kong beats the shit out of Scar King. So does Godzilla. Shimu, now not in Scar King's control, freezes Shimu, and Kong smashes it. They end up going back. Godzilla uses atomic breath to basically restore the sky back to normal. He's a fucking superhero now, dude. Like, he's not even a monster anymore. It is so bad. Monarch's kind of useless in this movie, but they're basically just there to be like the shield of this universe. And what sucks, I think why I saw someone make a good point that these movies work unlike Marvel because they don't release them every year. They release them every 2 to 3 years. So I think that's why this is probably gonna stick, unlike Marvel, where they release them every year, or even the Bayformers, so it's relatively they released every year. Even Fast and the Furious, pretty much they released every year. These are gonna work for a while because they don't release them every year, so they're. I think people will give them more of a pass, so because they don't just shit them out, you know. But even as a fan, it sucks because I think Godzilla deserves better than this shit. And actually, no, that's gonna be the title of the video. Godzilla deserves better, and it sucks because we did have that, and then it's just like I feel like you undid all that goodwill. Actually, I don't know. I think there are gonna be people who love this movie. I think they're gonna get blinded by the oh, it's just dumb fun. You know, I can turn my brain off, and I think some people there are some Godzilla fans who just like love the Showa era, so they'll just almost see it as a fucking homage to that. But for me, I think we don't need to be back in that. I don't want to see fucking Godzilla doing suplexes. You can get away with that in the 70s. Like, you know, obviously everyone goes to the Godzilla dropkick. Okay, that worked in the 70s, or I think it was about the 70s or so when that happened. But 60s, 70s, either or, that was the time you can kind of get away with goofy shit like that. You can't get away with shit like that in 2024. Don't expect me to take that shit seriously. Like, King of the Monsters, Godzilla, the way he was fighting was realistic. He wasn't, even in King of the Monsters, I mean, in Godzilla versus Kong, he wasn't doing suplexes. What, like, dude, like, now we're just literally just doing WWE now. Like, what the fuck, dude? You might as well put this in a WrestleMania ring. Like, what are we, ugh. So, yeah, so Shimu goes, Godzilla basically sleeps in the Coliseum again because we had to do that gag again. It wasn't funny the first time, and you're doing it again. It's like, okay. And then Kong goes back to the Hollow Earth with Shimu and Suko. So Shimu's, I guess, Kong's pet now. And then Suko is Kong's son. I'm just going to say it. And then Kong's the new leader of the apes. And the little girl, because like I didn't even mention this. The mom thinks the little girl wants to stay in the Hollow Earth with her people, but it turns out no. The little girl wants to go back with her. Whatever. This movie is fucking terrible. It's not good. It's not a Godzilla or monster movie anymore. I don't even feel like I'm in a MonsterVerse anymore. This is just basically, you know, it's Bayformers. We're doing bad superhero shit. Monarch's Shield, Godzilla's Superman, or you know, Captain America. Vice versa with Kong is Batman and or Iron Man. Like, we're not even in the fucking monsters. They're not monsters anymore. When you got Godzilla doing fucking goddamn suplexes, you've got dumb characters. Bernie constantly reminding you guys, I'm a YouTuber. I do this. I blog. Discord. Subscribers. It's like, fuck off, movie. We get it. He's the internet dude. He's the internet. He does shit on the internet. We get it. Oh, like, Grau was grating. What they did at Godzilla was bad. Godzilla had no fucking reason to be in this movie. This should have just been a Kong movie in the Hollow Earth. I would have cut Shimu out too. I would have just had Scar King be the leader of these group of apes and Kong have to try to stop him. Could have even had the little girl character in the movie. That's it. You know, relatively, I would have kept the human character, but actually maybe do something with them, you know? But have it just be a Kong movie. This did not need to be Godzilla did not need to be in this. And I felt like he was just in this so you can get more asses to seat. Especially, honestly, I think they did this even more after they saw the reception of -1. And for them to just, in this, Godzilla had no use. The lack of scale was killing me. It was bothering me, man. I was saying this leading up to the movie, but it's even worse when you actually watch the movie. There's no scale at fucking all. Not one scene does. Godzilla, Kong, Scar King, Shimu, they don't feel big. They just, They did it like a Godzilla running, doing all this dumb shit. Godzilla should not run. The whole point is he's so big he doesn't have to run. I think that's what makes him more menacing. I don't, man. This movie might as well just be a comedy movie, and that too. It's a comedy. It doesn't even. It's not even an action, really. It feels like a comedy because the amount of bad jokes, the God, we're sad, man. I think MonsterVerse has just become a pathetic franchise that it seems like it just wants to go this Bayformers, Fast and the Furious route, and it sucks because I think this movie's gonna do well, and because it's not released in COVID time, I think there'll be some people who will see it. Well, guys, it's not woke, really. You know, there's no. Because I'll admit, it's not woke. There's no weird like shit like that in the movie. It's so they'll be blinded by that. They'll just see it as a dumb, fun action movie. So I think, unfortunately, it's gonna do well, and I think they're just gonna do another one. They're probably not even gonna. I don't know if they're ever gonna do another Godzilla solo or even a Kong solo. They might just do another team up where they just fight another new big bad monster, and it's gonna suck, man. It's really disappointing where this franchise has gone because I like the legendary movies, and minus 2014, but largely I like the initial movies. You know, when we're doing like from Skull Island to King of the Monsters, that was a fucking great time. And I was definitely hyped where this franchise could go. You know, Godzilla vs. Kong had issues, but I largely still liked it. And then now we're just straight up in we're not even in monster movie territory anymore. Because at least Godzilla vs. Kong still felt like a monster movie. This doesn't. This is just straight up now like I said, superhero, Fast and the Furious, Bayformers, just type of schlock now. And not even good schlock. 4 out of 10. I'm never watching this movie again. The only MonsterVerse movies I think, honestly, I'm never going to watch again, flat out. Maybe it might be... I'll watch the end of the 2014 movie, King of the Monsters, and Skull Island. That's it. That's my MonsterVerse, because I just don't think we're going to get better. It seems like with specifically Godzilla, if I want good Godzilla content, we're just going to have to wait for Toho. Because, Shin Godzilla... Obviously, Godzilla -1, so I'm very much interested to see where they go with their world, because this just isn't good. I can't. This wasn't even good, dumb, fun, movie either. This was just bad. So, Godzilla deserves way better than this shit, and it seems like people just want this. And I can understand if you're not really, like, into the Godzilla lore, I can see you just kind of enjoying it as just a dumb action movie. I can see that, but I feel like if you're really into Godzilla, I just don't see how you can like it. Especially with just the lack of scale alone. The fact that, like I tweeted a few weeks ago, 98 had better fucking scale than this movie. Or no, I didn't tweet it, but I saw someone say that, and I agreed with it. Because they're right. Godzilla 98 had way better scale than this. Whatever you think of that movie got scale right. They made Godzilla feel big every time he attacked the city, or Zilla, every time he attacked the city. You don't get that in this movie. And this is actual Godzilla. It's supposed to be actual Godzilla. So, yeah. Anyways, guys. This movie's fucking dog shit. And I wanted to like it, but, I don't think I ever really was. Just... I kind of knew what it was going to be, man. So, hopefully, I'm ready. Come on, Toho, can you maybe speed up that next Godzilla movie? Just kidding. But anyways, I don't know if I'm going to do a video later tonight. If I do, it won't be a review. I might just think of a topic to talk about. But other than that, I don't. More than likely, I'll probably... Who knows? I might look up a quick Screen Rant article sometime today, and maybe I'll do a Screen Rant as gay later tonight, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, I'm going to call it here. It's really sad. Because I think the MonsterVerse could have been great, but I don't think they care about quality. I'm not saying it had. I'm not have to reiterate this because there's gonna be a lot of people. I've seen people try to say this if you make this. Oh, you just want everything to be like -1. No, Not saying that. I don't want this goofy shit though. Godzilla or Kong should feel like I'm watching a comedy movie. And that's what it feels like I'm watching. And not even a good comedy movie, like a bad comedy movie. It's not what I feel like should feel like when I'm watching a Godzilla or anything like that. You know? So sorry, this just isn't good. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna end it here. Talk to y'all either tonight or if not tonight, definitely tomorrow. Alright guys, talk to y'all later. Peace.